so close to 2 hours, that we will be utilizing to discuss various case studies. But before I actually begin, I just want to give you a brief the way the case studies should be approached and should be tackled. Because what had been my limited experience with all of you had been that the moment you get a case study, you take the merit and demerit like that, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 like that, the points, various points you make. The first thing that I have to tell you that they are the 20 marks or 25 marks questions. So, they cannot be answered in the point wise 1, 2, 3, 4 points like that. There has to be some sort of cohesion, that you have to introduce the case study in say 4 or 5 lines as what are the major issues which a case study focuses. You may not call it a formal introduction, but whatever way you want to do. So, you should definitely express in 4 or 5 lines exactly what are the major issues in the case studies involved, and thereafter certainly you can come out to the options. Now, there could be 2 possibilities. Either the options are given and you have to simply analyze the merits and demerits, then you can straightway go to the merit and demerit point. Otherwise, if you have also to find out the options, then here you have to hold yourself as to how to make options. Whenever in actual life also you have to take a decision, you have many options. We say that sometimes you can have a half a dozen options immediately. Now, you have to find out whether all these 6 or 7 or 8 options which you think they are worthwhile. Some of the options you automatically say they are not worthwhile, they are not even worth consideration. Then why you say like that? It is purely on the basis of the merit of the option, that you find that the particular option does not have good merits, and that is how you outwardly discard that option. So, here you have to take an extreme care that you have to choose 2 or 3 or 4 options, then you have to choose the best of the 4 or 5. It is not that casually you take 3 or 4 options just like, and since you know that you have to mention the merits and demerits. So, obviously, merit is not difficult because whenever you choose any option, it is on the basis of the merit only that you take any option. So, obviously, there is not very much important in discussing the merit of an option. The real difficulty is the demerit of the option, or the other thing, the disadvantage whether you call, limitation whether you call. Now, here in cases normally what you do, and in practically barring few of the people, I find that while choosing the option you leave some scope of the demerit, so that the moment you have to write the point of demerit, you can easily write down that these are the demerits. Now, that means the option itself was wrong, that the option you made was full of the infirmity, was full of some sort of the demerit. So, that was no worthwhile option. So, what is important that do not make an option which has apparent demerit. It should not be apparent demerit. The demerit has to be found out. It is not so easy. Also, there might be a situation where you may not find the demerit at all. It is not necessary that your options have 1, 2, 3, 4 demerit also. If you have found out 3 or 4 merit in any option, you can also find out 2 or 3 demerit also. Then that means that option itself was wrong. And so, the demerit unnecessary you should not be worried, and if you can find out 1 demerit, a good demerit at all, it is worthwhile, or a 2 demerit, that is really very good. Then do not leave the demerit as they are, because in administration we do not accept the defeat, because finding a demerit in your option, that means you have accepted defeat, that well, the decision that I have taken has got some demerit at all in the beginning, that means your decisions are wrong. And so you have to blunt at least that, you have to overcome the demerit. So 1 or 2 lines must be devoted also after you mention the demerit, that fine, these demerit can be, they might appear, but well, the following things we can do so as to counter this demerit, at least to dilute that demerit, or say to blunt that demerit. So this point is a must, and this is what I find in most of the answers, this point is missing. And after you finish this format, and thereafter you have to conclude, or sometimes the UPSC uses the word what is the best option with the reasons and all these things, that means you have to conclude. So conclusion should not be something that still you are in a doubt. That is why the UPSC also never says that what is the best option and then what it is merit and demerit. It does not say, it simply says that the what ultimately you will do with reasons. So the last portion which we call the conclusion can be the best of all, can be the one of the best with apparently no demerit at all, because ultimately when you conclude you should not be in a doubt, because when you remain in a doubt at least in the last stage, that means you have not concluded well. And so at least when you conclude or give the best of the option, at that stage you should never be in a doubt. And so there cannot be any possibility of any demerit at all, and this is how the questions have to be answered, and this is how your answer has to be made. Now, since it is the 20 marks, 25 marks question, it cannot be so easy that all the 6 questions can be of the same format, might be of the different formats. Last year it were the 3 formats that the UPSC utilized. One was that they themselves gave the your options. Another was that you had to find out also the options. The third format was that they mentioned something, what are the ethical issues. In model questions they made the 4th type of format. In this examination there could be 5th or 6th type of formats. So do not think that what you have find out or you have done the practice, the merit and demerit, it can be ultimate. There UPSC might go for some new format, but by and large in every question of the decision making, which we call the this particular way case study approach, you have to ultimately take a decision. If you look from a larger perspective, the case studies are ultimately a decision. So whatever the format will be, whether the formats that you are already familiar or they can bring a new format at all, it will be certainly a decision making. Now decision making has to be from this angle only, that the decision making is never the one option. Decision makings are also considered the various types of options, that you will work as in a team, the teammates they offer various suggestions. This is how the format also says. And the civil servants being the leader of the team, they consider, they weigh the various options from the merit and demerit angle, and ultimately they come to a conclusion. So this will be ultimately the way the case study will have to be approached. Now there is another aspect which I just want to touch before taking some of the case studies. Obviously 25 case studies requires some 5 to 6 hours minimum. So that is certainly not possible. So I will be taking some key of the case studies. But here the case studies which I have brought before you, they are again very illustrative. The 25 case studies, if you attempt, along with some of the case studies which we have done in the classroom, or at least available to those who were not directly associated with us up till now, so they can have access also to all of our materials. The questions on the RTI are little different, because rest of the case studies are not based on law. They are based on some sort of the other way of decision making. But RTI related questions, and certainly I am expecting again one case study minimum from RTI again this year. So, it will be continuing in that way. So, RTI related case studies has not to be attempted as if you are not familiar with the act. The act is not bulky, it is so 3 or 4 page act. So, I hope by now you must be fully familiar with the different sections of the RTI Act, especially defining the public authority, that is section 2, also informations, the various the things what information is done. So, that is again defined in the section 2 itself. So, section 2 is very important, you can't ignore. You should go through each and every word of the section 2, the various subsection of the section 2. Then section 4 is also very important. Section 4.1, 4.2, A and B together. So, section 4, section 5 where the public information officer, assistant public information officer, the concept and the various things. Section 6 as to how information is sought, what are the modalities. Might also read section 7, some of the provisions of the section 7. Again very important section 8, which is the exceptions. That means the section 8 stipulates the informations which the public authority is at liberty not to provide. He may, the public information officer can provide, but also he or she is at the liberty of not providing those information. So, section 8 is also very important. Some part of the section 9 you can also study. Thereafter, you can directly come to the, from the case study point of view, I am telling the section 18 and 19. Section 18 is the complaint. That a person can directly file a complaint before information commissions, and section 19 is the appeal system against the order of the public information officer. Section 20 is the punishment, so that should also be looked by you. Thereafter, you can just have a glimpse of other sections. But whatever the section I have told you, section 2, section 4, section 5, section 6, part of section 7, the whole of section 8, very important, part of section 9, 18, 19 and 20. These sections must be thoroughly understood, should be remembered, and in your case study they must be quoted, because whatever you write, if you also quote that it is per the particular section, then certainly it will fetch better marks, because here if you provide an average answer or something, a general answer, you may not get more than 5 marks or 6 marks. A poor answer can still fetch 2 or 3 marks. An average answer can fetch 5 to 6 marks. A good answer can fetch you close to 12. And very good and excellent answer, which we call, can fetch you as high as 17 to 18 marks out of 20. And so, if you just multiply by 6 by these things, obviously the case study alone has got potential of getting you around close to 80 marks. Now, the 6 case studies as they are, the time wise, I will request you to devote 15 minutes for each. 15 into 6, 90 minutes it comes out to be. My second advice to you will be that if you could take up the case study first, that means the section B first, not putting it at the end when you are running short of time or when you are under tremendous pressure. So, at that time choosing the answers, the merit and demerit, that might be a little difficult thing. So, at least those who are well prepared for the case study should take up the case study first in the initial 1.5 hours, that is ideal, can stretch up to 1 hour 40 minutes even, because it is high stakes of this particular segment. and rest of the 1 hour 20 minutes certainly minimum that you should leave for the section A. So, if you can distribute your time like that, and also if you can find out the strategy, then certainly your aim should be 125 plus in this paper 4, because this is the only paper which can pull you up. And as you find the written marks, you are struggling for marks 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 marks, they decide many of your things, including your career of the whole life, that you land up in a different service whereas you were made up for the different service, then really it is a sad thing. So, you may not take the liberty here. Now, after taking these general issues, let us, the way I have suggested, take up some of the case studies which have been made available to you.